Well, hello everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back to another episode of the It's Not Just You podcast.
Here we are.
Here we are. How are you today, Soph?
Once again. Feeling all right.
Mm-hmm.
Got nice cozy jumper on.
Nice cozy jumper.
So
this is a lovely find. Where was this from?
This is an Urban Outfitters.
Urban
For an urban
Was
girl.
it a Depop or a...
No.
Oh,
Just
a brand
in
new
the shop.
purchase.
Yeah. What, treat myself?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm feeling pretty cozy, comfortable, ready to have a chat.
Ready to have a good chin wag.
How are you?
I'm good. I am. I'm intrigued to discuss today's topic. It's an interesting one, guys. I was going to say it's a little bit raucous. What does that word mean?
I don't think that's the word.
What does that mean?
Raucous.
Yeah.
I would say that means it's like crazy.
Oh, okay. Okay, it's not crazy.
Unhinged.
Unhinged. I actually love that word.
That is unhinged.
Yeah. Sorry, I was being so unhinged.
That's, quite a strong word, I feel like.
No, okay, not raucous, but it's more just, I don't know, a bit
spicy.
A bit spicy. So let's dive right in today. Go on, Soph. What is the title of today's episode?
Okay, so the title of today's podcast episode is It's Not Just You Who Doesn't Like Your Friend's Boyfriend,
Ooh.
partner, significant other, whatever you want to call them. But yeah, that's what we're going to be chatting about in today's ep.
I feel like most people surely at some point have been here.
I'm there right now. No, joking.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, we should probably do a disclaimer at the start.
Yeah. Oh, go on.
Well, I was going to, as in this isn't to do with me not liking Rachel's boyfriend. Just want to clear that up before we...
I hadn't even thought of that, to be honest.
Oh, well, I'm glad.
I hadn't thought, oh yeah.
I was going to use this episode as just a way to get out.
When he sees the title of this.
It's like, oh no.
No, yeah, I mean, I'd hope not. If you didn't like my boyfriend, though, I don't think you would have been able to hide that. Do you know what I mean? Because I think
I don't think we would get
now,
to us filming a podcast episode and that's the first time you find out.
No, but as in, I was just thinking, let's say that I did start dating, I started going on these dates with a guy that you didn't like. Maybe this is a good place to start this episode. Okay. If I started going on dates, from the off, this guy asks me out, you kind of know a bit about him, whatever, and you're like, oh, I just don't really vibe with him. What would you do / at what point would you voice your opinion?
Well, I think, and we'll chat about this later on, but I'm quite a firm believer in if you're as close as we are, the earlier you can do it, the better. As in, if you're saying, oh, I'm going on a first date with this guy, way easier to just kind of go, oh, not sure about him, or kind of, what do you see in him? Because I feel like you're not a great match. Rather than 6 months down the line, suddenly going, so by the way, I never thought that was a good idea, but I just let you do it.
Yeah.
I think it's way easier to just, especially if you're there in that person's life and in the conversations from the start, to just do it right at the beginning.
Well, I'm just thinking, knowing us, if you got asked on a date by someone that I was just a bit especially at that point where all it is you've been asked on a date, I'm sure we'd probably vocalise our opinions there.
Well, that's what I mean.
Do you know what I mean? It would kind of be ooh, that's a bit rogue. But then what if you thought it was rogue, but then as I started going on the dates, I really like them, and then, it's just so hard, isn't it? But I think we are just, pretty upfront.
Yeah. But I also think that I really trust your judgment of character. And so even if I was a bit unsure, but you were saying, no, I've seen this in him and blah, 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 then I probably would just trust
and you'd give them a chance. But I think it's just at that point that it then becomes difficult. Let's say, oh, you trust my judgment. So you start trying to hang out. And even after that, you're just imagine if it was just a personality clash of I just don't like this guy.
Yeah.
It's tricky, guys.
It's tricky, but yeah.
And that's what we're here to discuss today.
It is. So we thought we'd kick off by just you know, we like to establish the route that we're going to take with these things. So with this episode, this title, I think we thought it was good to start with the question, do you actually think this person is a bad fit for your friend? Or do you just not like the fact that they've got into a relationship?
It's the hard-hitting questions like that you come to this podcast for.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, obviously, again, it's obvious, but the context is you've got a mate, they've just started dating, and you're finding it really hard.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, in your mind, it's because you really dislike the person, or you just find them annoying, or like you're just not vibing basically with your friend's boyfriend.
Yeah. But I think it's worth asking that question.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us, I know I've been there, where actually you're maybe more annoyed just at the fact that your friend's in a relationship and you know that that's going to change things in your friendship, and you're kind of taking that out on the boyfriend or whoever, as opposed to just acknowledging that, oh, it is just a bit sad my friend's got in a relationship. And it's not so much about that person themselves, but it's just about them being a new person in your friend's life, and therefore that changing things between the two of you probably a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think that's, you know, a good question to start with. Is it them, or is it just the fact that they've got into a relationship? If it's the fact that they've got into a relationship, then I think that's a you problem. No, I was going to say that's a you problem. It's not a you problem, but it's a different problem.
It is. And I think you can sometimes just quite easily confuse the two.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, oh, like, for example, they're round again. Oh, it's so annoying. And it's like, wait a second. Is it because you think they're annoying, or are you just annoyed that they're round again?
Yeah.
Because they're with your mate.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that is a good place to start, guys, because you might be listening to this and you've suddenly realised, oh, wait, I don't actually dislike the person. I'm just kind of grieving the loss of having my friend all to myself. So that's quite a good problem to have in some ways, because at least you don't fundamentally dislike the boyfriend.
That is so true. So yeah, once you've established that, and if you are leaning on more the side of things of, no, I actually think it's about the person that they're dating, who they are, their character, their whatever it is, their personality traits. This is where we're going to go today.
Yeah, it is. And I think the first thing, I guess, you almost have to try and do is try and make an effort. So even like we were just talking about there, at the start, you know, where you're a bit unsure on your friend's boyfriend, but, you know, for like, it's just that thing, isn't it? Generally in life that can sometimes be so confusing, even just in friendships, where you can have a mate that you see everything like so eye to eye with, you're so similar, you have so much in common. And even in friendships, you know, they then make friends with someone else that you just don't vibe with at all. And it's like, how does that work? Like, just as a concept, where two people can be so similar but have totally different friends and get on with different people. And I guess it's that same thing of like, your friend can end up dating a guy that is just not really similar to you, or you maybe don't see eye to eye with. But I think because your friend has obviously seen something in them, and, you know, you're similar to your friend, it's always good to try and see what your friend's seeing in them, basically.
Yeah, you've got to put in a bit of effort, because we were saying that actually if it does get to a point where you need to have a conversation with them about who they're dating and that you think it's not the best idea, you just don't have much grounds to go off if you've put in no effort to get to know them.
Yeah.
Because then they can probably just flip it and say, well, you don't even know them, so how can you say all this stuff?
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, you've just got to put in a bit of effort at the start.
I'm going to say, guys, you've got to give it 3 good hangouts.
3 bouts of quality time.
And when I'm saying that, I'm not saying a quick chat in the kitchen when they're round.
No.
I'm saying you've got to do, you know, a dinner, a walk, or I don't know, just something where, you know, because I assume as well your friend's going to want you to get along with their boyfriend. So, you know, you just could say to your friend, oh, I really actually want to get to know Darren.
Rob. Darren, yeah, I like that.
Darren. I'd love to get to know Darren. please can we hang out? And I think give it 3 of those, not just one, because also where your mind's just looking to like be like, see,
Yeah.
they're horrible.
Yeah.
Like you've got to give it 3 good goes where you're going in with the mental attitude of I want to like this person. And if after 3 hangouts you're still like they are jarring us, then fair enough.
Yeah. And I think also trying to make it a smaller setting, because people can be different in groups.
Yes.
People, if you're doing a thing of, oh, let's go to the pub, all 12 of us in the friendship group,
plus the boyfriend,
you're probably not going to get any good quality conversation in, because how you're doing that in a massive group, and 2, it is just a different dynamic, so they're probably not going to be themselves. Also, if it's not their group of friends and you've kind of brought them in, they're probably not going to be as at ease if they're like a new boyfriend relationship or whatever. So I think as small of a setting you can make it, where you can actually ask them some questions, hear about what they're interested in, their life, who they are. Ideal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess what we're getting at here is more just finding someone annoying. But I do think this problem is almost twofold of like, okay, so let's say you don't like your friend's boyfriend. There can be a whole like host of reasons why that is. So far, I feel like we're going more down the route of like, they're just quite annoying, or like, you know, maybe it's not a super deep issue, but like you're just getting a little bit
sparks
like,
aren't flying.
The sparks aren't flying. The chemistry's not there. You're having to work hard. Then on the other extreme of the scale, there is like, you know, this guy is just not good for your friend. Like he's not a great guy, or, you know,
there's red flags.
There's red flags left, right, and centre. Hook, line, and sinker. I don't know what that
and that's the bottom line of it.
But like, yeah, there's finding your mate's boyfriend annoying, and then there's actually seeing behaviour in your friend's boyfriend that is like just unacceptable, and therefore thinking like, no, you know, you just don't want your friend to be dating that kind of guy.
Yeah.
Which I'd say is more of like a serious issue.
Yeah.
So if that is the case, how are we going about that?
Ooh. Well, I think that it's difficult, isn't it? Because in that initial phase, honeymoon stage, new relationship, everything's exciting. The rose-tinted glasses are on.
The rose-tinted glasses.
Everything looks beautiful. And like, if you're looking at a red flag through some rose-tinted glasses,
it's looking pink.
I don't know how red it looks. Do you know what I mean? It probably looks a bit orange.
Wouldn't it actually look more red? Because it's like pink glasses.
Yeah, but everything looks a bit red.
Okay,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Probably just looks like a flag.
It just looks like a love world where everything's pink and rosy.
That flag could be any colour.
Yeah.
For all you know.
True that.
So in that initial phase, your friend, you know, they might not be picking up on the same things that you're seeing with your normal glasses on. Do you know what I mean?
It's actually wild what love can do, isn't it?
No, get that on a quote.
Not even love, but
I'm
just
gonna
like
post that on the Instagram.
But like
Rach Wilson 2024. It's actually wild what love can do.
But guys, like when you just really like someone, it's just this renowned concept that it's like they can do no wrong.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny because everyone else can look at them and see these things where it's like, oh, like that's a bit icky, or like, oh, that's like a major red flag. But you're just there like, no, they're the most amazing man to ever walk this up. Like, or you just find yourself justifying things that are just not justifiable.
Yeah.
Like,
in some ways, this is a proper side note, but in some ways, it's actually, I think sometimes we should have more of that view with just people in general.
Thinking the best.
Just having a bit more grace. And actually, I know sometimes in these situations we're talking about, you're going too far, as in you're justifying things that you shouldn't be justifying. But often I think in life people are too quick to jump to, yeah, they're an awful person, rather than doing but maybe it's because of this, and but you don't know this about them, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
so that's 100%. A side note.
I mean, I have a friend who just always says assume the best in people. It's so easy to immediately interpret something that someone does as just a negative thing.
Yeah.
And actually, if you had a perspective of like, in this moment, I'm going to choose to think the best of this person, I think it's actually quite like profound how much that changes how you think. So anyway, let's say that we have assumed the best of the boyfriend, but the red flags are continuing.
Yeah. So it's probably quite hard to speak to someone in that phase, like I said, because they're loved up.
But it can last a year. I genuinely feel like the honeymoon phase, okay, like the intense honeymoon phase is a couple of months. I think until you've been with someone a year, like that's when it's kind of like
reality setting.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. But aside from all of that, my personal thoughts and what I said earlier, I do just think the earlier you can have a conversation with them, the better. It's going to be way easier to sit someone down 3 months into a relationship and say, hey,
this is a bit concerning.
Yeah, then they come into the house, they've just got engaged, and you're thinking, crap, my best mate's about to marry an absolute...
Oh, an absolute... yeah.
Yeah, I said it.
No, I agree. And I think there's like progressions of it. So of like how to have this conversation. So first step I would say is like just gently pick up on a few things they're doing. So let's say they sit down at a meal and they're with your mates and your friend and all of the sorry.
They're with your mates and all your friends.
They're with everyone and they say something that's quite rude to one of your other friends. Post-meal debrief.
Yeah.
It's just a little comment like, oh, like, what did you think of like that moment earlier where Darren, said that to Lucy?
And then like, go, oh, he was just having a bad day. Like,
but like, also don't sound attacky.
No.
Like you've got to try and make it sound
neutral.
Really chill where it's like, oh, like that was interesting earlier, wasn't it? Rather than like, Darren was such a like, to Lucy earlier. Like you kind of just go, oh, like that was interesting. Like what do you think about that? Or just, you put the feelers out there and just see how they respond. And like Soph says, they may go straight down the defensive route. No, but even if they do that, you've planted the thought where they might just go away, think about it, either still conclude, no, do you know what, that's fine, or go away and think, no, do you know what, that was interesting, like I'm going to keep an eye out.
And you don't know, they might turn around and go, yeah, actually I really didn't like the way you spoke then, and I should probably have
they're like, brilliant.
Yeah. Ka-ching. No, they might be like, oh yeah, I think I probably should talk to him about that, or yeah, I've seen him do that a couple of times and I don't like it, and it gets the conversation going, doesn't it? And it's like say, it doesn't seem too attacking, like you're sitting your best mate down and assassinating her boyfriend's character and going, this, and this.
Also, as much as we're joking, I would say like try and keep your focus off the boy and your feelings towards the boy and more just on your friend and how they feel.
Yeah.
So even in those kind of conversations, just be leading with like, how does that make you feel? Or like trying to gauge how they are as a person, as your friend. Because I think really easily you can just become it almost just becomes this like chase of like trying to like, or you just become a bit like bitter or resentful towards the boyfriend, where actually like just keep your attention focused on your friend and just how they feel.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think the last thing you want is building up this narrative around yourself that you hate their boyfriend.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day,
then they're not going to listen to you.
Well, yeah.
They're just going to think it's out of a place of like you just wanting them to break up out of principle.
Like, you've got this vendetta against him to cancel him or whatever. I think because also at the end of the day, I'm assuming you don't want to end your friendship with, your mate. You don't want that friendship to die. And if you just are constantly digging at their boyfriend, who in reality is probably one of the most important people to them, they're not going to want to confide in you. If something does actually come up where they go, oh, yeah, actually this happened and I wasn't happy with it, or I'm struggling with this in the relationship, why would they go to you? Because they think they're just going to get a big, well, I told you so. I told you he wasn't a good match. Like, so you're going to build distance between yourself and that person if you're constantly just nagging at them and in their ear going, oh, he's not good. Because at the end of the day, they're an adult. Well, they might not be an adult, but they're their own person. And there's only so many times you can have a conversation before you just have to
so
accept
true.
that, right, well, they've chosen to date that person and I want to be their friend, so I'm just going to have to get on with it.
It's so true. I think it can really easily become then about the friend just trying to prove that their boyfriend is like good.
Yeah.
Like you just want to try and keep it all as calm as possible and like good intentions. I think that's the key, because it can just so easily become about other things other than just how you feel about your friend. So yeah, I guess you just try and have, little conversations with them about different things. And then I think if that hasn't worked, maybe it does come down to like one more serious conversation where you do just actually sit your friend down if you're actually concerned and say, and like that is really hard to do, but I think depending on like what's actually happening in the situation, it's one of those things like Soph said, if they turned around and suddenly were engaged and you hadn't said anything about your concerns and they were like big concerns, I think you'd kick yourself.
Yeah.
And it's just in those conversations, isn't it? Just trying to explain your heart behind it. Like the only reason I'm saying this is because I really love you and care for you. And I just want to, and like, you might disagree with what I'm about to say, but I've just noticed some things and just felt like if it were me, I would want to hear these things. So I'm just going to voice them. And like, that's all you can really do.
And I think if you have a big conversation like that, I kind of think you can only really do it once.
Yeah.
Like you get one big kind of intense sit down conversation and then you kind of have to just go, I've said my piece.
Yeah.
There's my
and trust
thoughts.
your friend with her conclusion.
Yeah. And not, as much as you can, not let your feelings towards this guy come between your friendship with this person, because then it's just like, well, no one's winning, are they?
Exactly. And yeah, you just kind of have to let it play out and be there to support them either way. But it is hard, guys. It is tricky, but what can you do?
Yeah. And going back to kind of where we started, where we were talking about just personalities not getting on, and not so much that there's these massive red flags, but you're just not really vibing with your friend's boyfriend and you're thinking, how can you get on with this person when we get on, but I don't get on with your boyfriend and all of that. I think it's worth just, I don't know. I think we were thinking when we were writing some notes on this podcast, just maybe this episode is just about you hearing that, it is not just you that struggles to get on with your friend's boyfriend.
Yeah.
There's other people that...
It's quite a common thing, really.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there's just loads of people out there who just don't gel 100% with their friend's boyfriend. And I think in that, it's just trying to work out how much of a big thing it is for your friend for you to get on with their boyfriend, sorry. Because I think there's a lot of people out there that it's a big thing for. Like, for me, for example, it is quite a big thing because I really love... Well, it's not to say you don't love your friends if you don't care, but like I spend a lot of time with my friends, and just who I am, I guess, being a relational person, it's important for me that like my boyfriend gets on with my mates and can hang out with them. And I like to hang out with like a group of people, and, I would want them to be there. But there's a lot of people where it actually just isn't so much of a big deal, and maybe they quite like the separation of like, I have my boyfriend, then I have my friends, and there doesn't need to be a lot of crossover. So, for some people, you might find your friend's boyfriend a bit annoying, but it's actually not that deep because you don't have to hang out with them a lot, and on the rare occasion when you do, you can just suck that up.
Do you think it's ever worth just naming it?
What do you mean?
With your friend, essentially saying, hey, just want to name it. Feel like the last few times that we've hung out with your boyfriend, I've been a bit weird, but I just feel like I'm not really gelling with them, and I find that a little bit difficult. Like, how do you find that? Or do you think that's not necessary?
It's tricky.
I think it depends how close you are to the friend.
Also, I think it depends how much you're struggling with it. Like, if you're literally there like, oh my gosh, they come through the door and I'm just so annoyed, then maybe. But also, if it is literally just because you don't like their personality or, you know, the way they say things, or it's just more of that irritation, I think that's kind of your own thing to deal with. I don't think there's a lot your friend can do about that. Like, unless she's gonna, you know, either try and change her boyfriend's personality or break up with them, there's not a lot you can do. So I think that would be more about you as their friend, just trying to have patience and trying to like still, you know, respond well to the boyfriend.
I was more just thinking if it's a bit of an elephant in the room where your friend can tell, oh, I can tell Soph isn't being her normal self around Darren.
I kind of feel like that's the like friend's responsibility to bring up, i.e. like the person who's dating the boy.
Okay, yeah.
That kind of going, oh, I've noticed you're a bit like different when you're around Darren. Is everything all right? Or like, why is that?
Yeah. But then you on the other side should be doing the work of
your part
I kind
to
of
try
need to
and
just
get
get
on.
over it. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just so like situation specific though. Like it might just be like that is the vibe with your kind of friendship, and that you can name things like that. So
yeah. I just think from not just experiences like this, but general experiences, the more that you can name things and be clear and honest and upfront about stuff, the better.
Yeah.
Rather than it's all just this unspoken, unsaid, oh, I don't think they like them, but I can't really tell. Maybe they were just having a bad day.
Yeah.
But maybe it was to do with my boyfriend. I can't tell. Have I done something wrong? I don't know. So
communication.
I think if it feels appropriate, then why not just have a conversation about it? And not from the lens of, so you need to do something to fix this, but more just, hey, I just want to be
open,
honest, so you know what page I'm on, rather than building up your own
and
assumption.
Again, the earlier you can have it, the better. So it's not like a year in and you're going, oh yeah, I find your boyfriend really annoying. Like,
cool.
Just try and have it in the early days.
Yes. Should we leave it there?
Yeah, let's leave it there, guys.
Any last comments?
I think just that thing of, I know when a friend gets into a relationship, it can already feel a bit difficult that you're kind of losing them as a friend. And on top of that, if you don't get on with their boyfriend, it's even harder.
It's the double whammy.
So just, I guess, a shout out to anyone that's in that position right now. It is really hard.
Yeah.
But the more that you can just try and communicate, work out exactly what it is that's annoying you, try and have honest conversation with your friend, the better.
Absolutely.
Amen, sister.
Amen.
Guys, hope
There's
you
just
enjoyed
one thing I need to say before we leave.
What?
Find your boyfriend really annoying.
Sorry if you're listening.
Joking.
Jokes. Okay, well, we're going to go have a conversation. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.